Ever since you were little, you've been shown that growing up means hiding difficult feelings. That being an adult means holding in your anger, holding back your tears, smiling even when everything falls apart inside. But calmness is not emotional mastery. That's just a disguise, a social mask to appear stable, while you repress authentic feelings. Truly mastering your emotions is not about silencing anger, envy, or fear. It's about learning to listen to them carefully, decipher their messages, and use them strategically. Each powerful feeling carries with it a crucial warning, a sign pointing the way forward. Those emotions that so many dismiss as weaknesses can become powerful tools when used correctly. They don't bring serenity, but strength. There is no superficial calm here. The raw energy is right there in that dark part that you insist on ignoring, denying, or hiding. It is exactly in the shadow, in that secret portion of repressed desires, wounded pride, and hidden impulses that your true potential lies. By understanding how to access it, you stop seeking approval for your apparent calmness and start being feared for the precision of your actions. You don't react impulsively. Instead, you perceive, analyze, and then act with absolute clarity. This is true emotional control, and once you activate it, there is no turning back. Your shadow has always existed. Everyone has one. The more you ignore these uncomfortable parts of yourself, the stronger they grow in the shadows, silently manipulating your decisions. To pretend innocence, to ignore your own aggression, vanity, or need for control is to walk in the dark believing that nothing threatens you. Your shadow has always been there. The more you ignore it, the more hidden power it gains. Carl Jung, a pioneer in the study of the human mind, discovered that no one achieves clarity or emotional balance by denying the dark side that everyone carries. For him, authentic emotional mastery is not achieved through forced silence or internal repression, but through the courage to look directly at what we prefer to hide. Because deep down, real light does not come from running away from the shadows, but from consciously daring to face them head-on. For Jung, the true journey towards self-knowledge does not lie in seeking an illusory perfection, or denying the darker aspects of the personality. On the contrary, he categorically stated that no one achieves clarity and emotional growth by running away from their own shadows, but by facing them directly. From Jung's perspective, shadows are all those rejected, forgotten, or despised aspects within ourselves, repressed feelings, denied desires, hidden traumas. Ignoring these parts doesn't make them disappear. On the contrary, it only strengthens them, allowing them to act silently, sabotaging decisions and influencing attitudes in an unconscious way. According to him, true emotional enlightenment is only achieved by those who have the rare courage to confront these shadows. Not with hatred, repression, or fear, but with conscious acceptance. When you decide to recognize and understand your most hidden aspects, they stop being hidden enemies, ready to attack at vulnerable moments and become strategic and powerful allies. Integrating your shadow, in Jung's profound vision, means embracing the totality of your identity without shame or excessive judgment. You learn to use these shadow aspects as constructive emotional fuel, transforming insecurities into deep self-knowledge, fears into authentic courage, and aggression into assertive strength. Those who reject their shadow live in fragmentation, constantly fighting against themselves. On the other hand, those who welcome these dark sides, understanding that they are indispensable parts of their existence, achieve real mastery, true inner peace, not through the absence of conflicts, but through the full capacity to deal with them consciously. This central idea, proposed by Jung, is still relevant and powerful today, reminding us that emotional mastery does not come from the absence of pain, but from the courage to recognize it, understand it, and transform it into legitimate strength. Because after all, true light never comes from those who hide from their own darkness, but from those who have the unique courage to face it directly. It lives discreetly in the recesses of your mind, waiting for the perfect moment to emerge unannounced. Your irritation is never just with someone outside of yourself. Your impatience, intolerance, and judgment are internal reflexes that you haven't yet managed to fully resolve. Every overreaction, every little detail that upsets you intensely is not related to the external environment. In fact, these moments are internal maps pointing out emotional wounds, rigid beliefs, and traumatic experiences that have remained unresolved within you. Stifled emotions don't disappear simply because you've decided to ignore them. They return disguised as constant internal criticism, suffocating self-sabotage and obstacles that hinder authentic relationships. Or they emerge abruptly as emotional outbursts, impulsive decisions, or destructive attitudes. The only effective way to deal with this is to face your darkness directly. Recognizing that it exists is already the first step towards not falling under its silent sway. When you do, you are no longer automatically controlled by your own emotions and sabotaging thoughts. If you continue to deny it, you will remain a prisoner of your own inner self, mistakenly believing that others are responsible for your pain, when in fact your own shadow secretly manipulates the situations around you. Integrating these dark aspects is neither a comfortable nor a smooth task. It requires you to confront what you have always avoided looking at in yourself. The process begins with recognizing the projections. All those attitudes or characteristics in other people that generate deep irritation, contempt, or anger. Usually, what causes intense discomfort in someone outside of yourself is exactly what you reject in yourself. The shadow projects onto others what you don't want to admit internally, and the more you judge externally, the more it whispers that it belongs to you too. The next step requires honest and transparent bravery. Naming what you have deeply hidden. Name with sincerity what you most reject being: needy, aggressive, jealous, weak, or manipulative. As long as you don't clearly name these characteristics, they will continue to operate secretly within you. The last step is to ask fearlessly and directly. When did this characteristic appear? Who taught you that it was wrong? What situation forced you to hide it so deeply? These are not trivial questions. They are the keys to opening internal doors that have been closed for a long time. Each answer you find opens a new passage inside you. Each memory you retrieve recovers essential fragments of your hidden strength. Little by little, you realize that your goal is not to erase what bothers you or seems inadequate in you, but to integrate it into your essence with full awareness. At that very moment, you stop your internal escape. Here, you stop being a hostage and become the commander of your own existence. But integrating these hidden parts doesn't mean simply releasing wild impulses under the pretext of personal truth. This dangerous misunderstanding happens when someone accesses their inner strength without being mature enough to control it. The revealed shadow is like a ferocious creature full of violent energy, ready to break free. If you unleash it without wisdom, without clear direction, this force brings no freedom at all. It consumes everything around it. Intended control turns into unbridled chaos. The desire for power distorts into unbridled oppression. Pride takes over, arrogance replaces courage, intimidation takes the place of self-confidence, and aggression is mistaken for sincerity. The result is predictable: broken bonds, impulsive decisions, and progressive loneliness. Integrating your shadows doesn't mean letting them take control, but learning to consciously manage this intense energy. You can't allow the beast to run free. On the contrary, you need to keep it under strict surveillance, feeling its closeness, listening to its call to action, but deliberately choosing when and how to use this force. This requires more than willpower. It requires absolute discernment. Discernment to recognize the depth of one's own abysses without falling into them. Discernment to see power as a strategic tool, not as an excuse for impulsive behavior. Discernment to never confuse emotional intelligence with selfishness disguised as authenticity. True mastery is not exhibitionist. It lies precisely with those who know their shadows precisely, keeping them discreetly to themselves and consciously choosing the right moment to reveal them. Inside you live two versions, always present, always in dialogue. Inside you are two distinct beings, coexisting in constant tension. One is fierce, primitive, and visceral, manifesting its repressed impulses in a raw way. The other is meticulous, attentive, and calculating, seeing the game clearly while the others are distracted by individual moves. True emotional mastery happens precisely when these sides, once enemies, start acting in strategic partnership. There is no repression, no disorder, just a conscious and functional agreement. This harmony doesn't arise spontaneously. It is cultivated through three decisive actions, forming an essential ritual of those who truly master their emotions. The first of these is the intentional confrontation with what deeply bothers you. You don't expose yourself as a passive victim, but as an attentive and lucid witness to your own limits. This is when you exercise your ability to remain clear under strong emotional stress. The second action is the conscious reaction to the emotional impulse. You clearly see the trigger forming. You feel the heat of anger, you see the impulsive side wanting to control everything, but you remain still and lucid. At that moment, you break the automatic cycle and create a new pattern, a new form of true control. The third action is the practical transformation of these dark impulses into powerful tools. The trait that previously provoked shame now becomes a conscious and refined resource. Aggression is no longer uncontrolled, but decisive and assertive. Envy is converted into well-directed motivation, and the desire to control others becomes highly effective social intelligence. There is no disguise, there is refinement. From then on, there is no internal conflict. You are whole again. The beast brings instinct while the strategist provides clear direction. Now you can feel intensely without being dominated by anything at all. That's the real power. Controlling your emotions without losing yourself in them. Deep down, this truth remains intact. This is not for everyone. Many will still prefer to hide, denying their own shadows and calling self-control weakness, repression balance, and suffering peace. But if you've come this far, something inside you has definitely awakened. You can no longer stand being manipulated by unknown feelings. You no longer just want to resist, you want to be in charge. This change requires something rare, genuine courage to look directly inwards, recognize what scares you, and not turn away from it. The path of integration doesn't seek perfection or external approval. It seeks genuine strength and inner fulfillment. Those who achieve this fullness don't need to show it. They simply act, calm, present, and absolutely aware. By turning your shadow into an ally, you no longer see inner monsters, only strategic opportunities. In the end, all that's left is you, whole and complete. Your emotions have never been your enemy. They are, in fact, sophisticated biological mechanisms designed to ensure your survival. Every intense emotional reaction you experience is your body responding to an unmet need or a perceived threat, triggering internal alerts to keep you safe. When you feel angry, for example, it's because an important boundary has been invaded or a limit of yours has been disrespected. Fear arises to protect you in the face of danger or the unknown. Even envy carries a hidden message, indicating deep desires or goals that you haven't yet achieved. These emotional responses are natural, useful, and necessary. The real challenge is not to eliminate them, but to decode their meaning clearly. When you understand this biological logic, You realize that to deny your emotions is to fight against nature itself. Consciously accepting them, on the other hand, allows you to use these internal signals as strategic tools for personal growth and self-knowledge. Integrating this biological awareness with the psychological understanding of shadows offers a powerful combination for achieving real emotional mastery. Instead of resisting what you feel, you learn to listen, understand, and use these instinctive forces to your advantage, converting them into clear, focused, and productive energy. Deep down, your emotions have never been enemies to be defeated. They are sophisticated biological mechanisms that exist to protect you, guide you, and teach you something fundamental about yourself. Anger, fear, envy, they all carry vital messages, precise warnings from your body about unmet needs or violated boundaries. Denying them not only fails to eliminate their presence, but intensifies their destructive consequences. Genuine emotional mastery, therefore, comes from accepting these natural impulses lucidly, decoding them as strategic information about what you really need and want. This is not weakness nor indulgence. It is emotional intelligence in its purest and most powerful form.